Hey there everyone, how's it going? This is Julius, otherwise known as 38 on Thingiverse, and today I've been tasked by my wonderful mother-in-law to basically CAD this up and print it on my resin 3D printer. And it's basically a nut that holds her fan at a certain angle, and one of the nuts is missing, and this is the surviving piece. And it turns out that it'll fit on either side. Both of them kind of twist in at the same time to to basically lock it in place. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm here on Onshape. It's a free CAD programming tool that you can sign up for. And I've already taken all the dimensions of this fun little piece, and let's go ahead and get started. Whenever I start off, this is a new fresh document. I turn off all the planes that are showing up by default, and usually design things such that as it prints from. I try to start with the print surface, what the surface that would go on the build plate first. And I always try to design things so you don't have to put them with support. So let's look at the first dimension of this. It's the top end here. That's the outside diameter. I'll go ahead and create a circle starting at the origin, bring it out. We will constrain it to that dimension by hitting D for dimension. Click in here, and I think I have the ID of 38.8 millimeters. You can set your dimensions from millimeters, from inches to millimeters. I always work in millimeters, it's so much easier. And then we'll go ahead and the height of this thing is about 9 millimeters. So I'm not going to basically spin it around. I just want to basically, there's just a ever so slight chamfer here. So I'm going to go ahead and create another plane from this one. I'm going to hit OK on that sketch, and then basically offset this plane by 9 millimeters and do another sketch from there. So there it is, defaults to going north of the top plane. And on this plane I'm going to create a new sketch, and this time I'm going to still use the origin as my center point right there and make it a little exaggeratedly large. And I'm going to hit D for dimension, and this one is going to be 38.8. Oh wait, no, that's the first one. 39.2. 39.2. Alright. Now that we've got those two guys good to go, I'm also going to put in these little grips on the side here. There's 8 of them, and we're going to install each and every one of them and do what's called a loft. So I'm going to go ahead and hide all these planes because they always look so ugly. And then I'm going to, let's just go ahead and do a loft right now and just get a solid piece started. We'll hollow out the bottom later on. So we'll go up here to loft, and I will create a new part starting. There's no start profile conditions nor that one. I'm just going to select these two pieces, and voila, it makes a cute little loft. A solid piece with varying dimensions. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and work on those outside pieces. We'll start with this one, and I'll just loft it down. We'll start from the base of it, which is actually going to be printed last, and we'll start with this. Let's see, the ID, outside ID of those was 42.5. So we've got this guy going. We'll do a semicircle. Go ahead and orient it so that we can see it normal to the plane. We'll do an arc, and we'll go from here to here, make it a perfect semicircle by using a construction line from here to here. And we're going to make this the center point buddies with that construction line. I also want to create another construction line which we're going to make vertically perpendicular to the origin. And To do that, you go up here to your little constraints and you tell it that you want it to be vertical. You could also hit the V button. And this is going to be a semicircle, and if we do our math right, from here to here should be 38.8, nope, excuse me, 39.2. 39.2 minus 42.5 is 2.6. Try 3.6. And divide that by 2, that makes it 1.8. So the radius of this thing is going to be 1.6. Ding, right there. And we want 8 of those total. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a pattern, a circular pattern, using that. And it's going to go all the way around. And it's not going to be 3x. The default is 3. We're going to go change that to 8. And voila, now you got 8 of them. And you didn't even have to lift a finger. So now we've got our little detents on the top. Let's go ahead and do our little detents at the bottom. So we'll go ahead and create a new sketch down here as well. And we could use these as references, but we're not. Instead, we're going to just go ahead and do the exact same design on the bottom. This time I'll make a construction line from the origin to the very bottom, and it looks like it's snapped to a vertical position. And then I'm going to create my favorite little construction line that goes from here to there, and of course it is going to be a midpoint buddy with this thing, so I gotta remove the connection from there to there, have it connect instead to here at the midpoint, and I'm going to create another arc in much the same way as I did the last one, and this time the arc should be, it's 42.1 is the new one, so it's going to be 0.2 less than the previous one. The other one's 1.6, now it's going to be 1.4. So we'll go ahead and set up that dimension to be 1.4. Is that right? Let's see. 1.4. That sounds right. It's close enough. If it isn't, we'll live. And again, it's going to be midpoint buddies with this thing. I'm going to make it coincident by typing the I button. And notice how everything turns black once I constrain it. I hate it when things turn blue. That means that something can change and get all wonky on me. But this, by making it black, it means that nothing's going to change on me if I add other things to it. You'll probably see why as it develops along. I'm going to change it to 1.5 just because it looks a little closer to what I want. Alright, once again we note what's coming up here. We're going to put in a circular pattern. We want 8 of them. Go ahead and pick this guy, change that default of 3 to 8, and it looks like everything's beautiful. I'm going to hit OK. And once again we can loft everything from top to bottom. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Loft. We'll choose this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. I'm using my roller to basically zoom in and out. There we are. And then I want all those guys to connect with this guy, 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 that guy, and that guy. What a mess, huh? So what I want to do is do add, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of all those again. Obviously, I messed something up. Let's just do it one at a time, shall we? We'll do it that way, that way, and it looks like it was perfectly happy doing that. It'd be really nice if I could do that again like this and this, but unfortunately it's just going to assume that I keep trying to S-curve it along. So let's go ahead and get rid of those guys. And we'll just do it one by one. We'll hit OK, and we'll do another loft. I do this for all 8. Notice how the sketches all disappeared after I hit OK on that, so I'm going to have to make them both appear again. And once I ask them specifically to appear again, they basically won't be forgotten again. Oops. Nope, don't want that little fella. We want the actual surface. And there we go. It's beautiful. We'll do it for all 8. I may have to skip ahead so people won't have to watch me do this again and again painstakingly for each and every single one of these. Or, you know, I might just keep it in there. Why not? That looks good. We'll just make another one. You and you. Looking beautiful. And it looks like it actually knows that we need to add it instead of creating a new part. That one, that one. And we'll do another loft. Beautiful. Look how this is just coming together. That one, that one. And of course we will also do this one and this one. And that looks like it's getting close to my little part. Next, we want to make some of these sketches disappear because we no longer really need to refer to them. So I'll just go ahead and hit it over here in the features history. And we'll go ahead and look at it from the top again. There's the top. And now I want to hollow this thing out. The inside diameter was, according to my notes here, was 24.4. Take that back, it's 28.2 on the most open-ended side. So we'll go ahead and create a new sketch here. We'll make a circle by hitting the C button. And this time it is going to be what did I say? 28.2. And sometimes people put these constraints inside the history, but this is one of those one-off fun projects that's just going to be done once, so I don't really need to be too nitty-gritty. I'm going to make the origin coincident with the center of the circle. And now that we've done all that, and that is the widest inside diameter, I know that there's also a little lip on the inside of this that it goes down to. That lip is about 1 millimeter in height. So that, in other words, I just basically need to recess this down about 8 millimeters instead of 9. So we actually have that little lip on the inside. So let's do that. 28.2. The other one's going to be 24.4 is the other ID that gives us that lip. So how do we do that? Instead of doing add, we're going to extrude and remove. And we're going to only remove a blind depth of 8. There it is. Getting closer and closer. Now we're going to go ahead and use the new surface that we just acquired, and we're going to create a new sketch. Draw another circle, exactly like we did the last one, and this time that circle is going to be, according to my notes, 24.4. Isn't that lovely? And we're going to go ahead and extrude this one all the way through. Remove, and you're going to remove not blindly, but just do a through all. It's just cleaner that way. Don't just give blind measurements when you know it just needs to go through everything. And there we have a 1 millimeter lip on the inside of this happy fella. Now, this is the challenging part that people, start running for the hills on. It's the little thread on the inside of this guy. And today we're going to learn about the helix. This little feature up here is the helix, and the way you do it, and copying threads is actually fairly simple. All you have to do is figure out how many rotations there are on the thread, and that's pretty much all you have to do with this, we already know the rest of the dimensions. All we need to do is, in this case, put in, it looks like 2 revolutions. 2 revolutions, and I believe it's clockwise, and it's going to be on the inside of here, and voila, you can see that there are 2 revolutions going through that thing. Alright, now that we have a helix, we're only going to be using that as a guide path for the profile of the actual thread itself. So now I need to basically find out where this helix intersects with the outermost circle, and I'm going to use one of these planes here to create a new sketch. Alright, and I believe that guy, yeah, he pretty much started at that intersection. So I'll use this, and we're going to use the inside of the circle as a guide reference, right there. Alright, and I'm going to make it constructive, and we are going to make a little triangle for our thread, the profile of our thread. So that's going to be a real line. I'm going to hit L, and you're just going to make an equilateral triangle against the construction line. Alright, and the triangle height looks like it's about 2 millimeters. Yep, 2 millimeters. So the distance from here to here, we'll make another construction line, and we'll make it midpoint buddies with that edge of the triangle that is going to be one equilateral to the other edges. I'm going to make sure I select the correct one by doing the select other, and highlight through, scroll through here until I find it. There it is right there. And I want those two to be midpoints. And you know what? You need to make sure you choose an actual point in the line itself. Not 2 lines can't be midpointish. So I'm going to hit select other just like I did earlier. Scroll through until I find it. There it is. And voila. They are now midpoint buddies. Isn't that great? Okay. So now I also want to make them perpendicular to one another. And I want this height to be 2 millimeters. Fair enough. And then I want this side and this side to be equal. And again, the bottom one down here doesn't know that it needs to be equal to the rest either, so I'm going to select it again. There it is. And I highlight this one, make it equal as well. And it did not like that. We'll go ahead and Control Z to get back to where we were. And let's find out what constraint is messing up here. Alright. So I can tell that this end right here is loosey-goosey, and I don't like that. I need to basically anchor it to this point where the helix starts. So I'm going to choose this point thing up here, highlight the point that the helix starts, and I'm going to make this coincident with the edge of our triangle. And now we're going to go ahead and make this equal to that, which it already is, but I also need to set up a parameter where I lock in the edge down here. So I'm going to go ahead and select other, find our favorite edge, and give it a dimension that guy right there, and we'll just make it, I was hoping to make it 2, but maybe we should just make it 1.6. There we go, a nice clean 1.6. Now we've got the profile of our thread, and notice that this one up here is getting a little bit green, or sorry, blue. We're just going to leave it for now. Okay, now let's go ahead and sweep that profile all along our helix so that we can actually make this thing correct. So I'm going to hit OK on that. And this sweep up here is what we want to do. We're going to add it to the rest of the body. We're going to choose the face, which is our triangle. We're going to choose the sweep path, which is our helix. And voila, isn't that just magical? Look at that beautiful, beautiful thing. So the only problem here is that now we have a little lip that's coming out of the profile of the part that we don't want. So what we can do to get rid of that is fairly straightforward. We can do a little cheat where we create a plane outside, just offset a plane from here. So I'll just offset plane. I'll give it like, this is really sloppy by the way, 3 millimeters, and then I'm going to use this. Well, we've got to create a sketch on that new plane that we just created. Then I'm going to Q, or actually not even Q, I'm going to actually really use this. It's not going to be a construction line, I'm just going to use this entire face, right? And we're going to delete or remove everything below this outline. So now it should be grayed if it's actually a solid piece, but for some reason I'm not seeing it grayed out, which is really odd. Huh. Should be grayed. Let's see if it will actually remove. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a remove. So I'm going to extrude, and we're going to remove, and yeah, you see what I mean? It's not really showing up there for whatever reason. So let's scratch that real quick. Let's delete that sketch. Didn't really need to look like that anyway. We're just going to delete the sketch, and this time instead of just trying to rely on something else, we're just going to draw a big old circle starting at the origin. There. Doesn't matter how big it is, that looks big enough. And now we're going to extrude and remove this time. We don't want to blow away our entire part, we just want to go up to a surface. So we're going to go up to face, and we're going to choose that face right there. We're just sneaking up to it. And now you can see that it actually deletes this little piece. It actually gives us a bit of a preview. Now it's nice and clean. Let's go ahead and hide all these planes. They always kind of mar the view. Alright, and that, my friends, is the piece that we want. This should pretty much be the final thing. Let's print it out, see how it goes.
So here's the van. Here's the original piece that goes on there for one side. And just go straight around here and put it on. Go. Doing this one-handed.